Lotus. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Into the 99. We wanted to do a quick talk about some of the new spoilers. We obviously want to cover them as an episode. First and foremost, I'm one of your hosts, Daniel.
I'm Brian.
Yeah, Brian with us, and also Zach. Zach, say hello.
Zach, say hello.
All right, there we go. So today I obviously wanted to talk about the card that's on everyone's mind. Everyone rushed to make a video about it. It was spoiled, I think, late Thursday. Really late Thursday, which is a weird time to spoil a card like Jeweled Lotus. And everyone rushed it out, tried to get the hot take, the quick thing. And we like to take a day or two to at least think about it a little bit, discuss it. We've got a really good Discord where we chat with everyone.
The Discord was on fire talking about that card.
So essentially they made the first attempt, before we even get into what the card does, they made the first attempt to go against the reserve list. And I could not be happier. I hate the reserve list. I don't think it's a positive thing for the game in any way. I think that it's great that they are trying to find workarounds for it that make the game functional, because the reserve list has strong cards on it. Now, obviously, getting into that, a lot of people have seen what Jeweled Lotus is. I'm not still going to go over the card for the moment. You can't put Black Lotus into Commander. That's too strong, too good. Lionized Diamond is very breakable, and that has the additional cost of discarding your hand. And Lionized Diamond can really make people groan if it's not at a competitive table. So I understand it. I understand where the Jeweled Lotus frustration is coming from, because the card just basically reads 0 mana, 3 mana of any color on a sacrifice. You can only use it for your commander. On its face, amazing. There's no way around it. It is a very strong card. It doesn't really have a lot of downsides.
I think I saw like one of the main pros that I've seen to this card is that it allows newer players to get another more powerful card that they would not have been able to have.
Until very recently, nobody had access to Mana Crypt. Like the fact that I had Mana Crypts, it just blew people's minds, because they were such old...
Where did you get these?
Yeah, they're such old, weird cards, and a lot of people, I know for a fact, looked at them as very unfair, because there was just not
big of enough of a downside?
No, there just wasn't a big enough of a pool for players to have them. You either had to have a lot of money to have them, or a very old collection like me and my brothers and stuff, right? And even with the older collection, they were still pricey cards. With them reprinting it as a masterpiece, it did become a little more accessible. And now we've seen it in mystery boosters. We just saw it again recently in Double Masters.
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that is good. It's definitely up to the power. And the same thing, like, as a player who is a little bit newer to the game, were you not happy to crack things like foil, like Force of Wills or whatever?
Oh yeah, I was able to get actual Force of Will, because I was like, previously to even those sets coming out, I was like, what, they were like $100 and something.
Yeah.
And I don't play blue all that often, so it's not really worth to me to buy one.
Well, and a lot of times, yeah, it's kind of, if you're new to the game, if you're not at a super high meta table and stuff, right? A lot of people, there is an enormous market for budget plays. People don't want to buy $100 cards. That's just that's the bottom line of it, right? A lot of people,
unless you like a nice collection. Yeah,
most decks don't need a Mana Crypt to function, and most tables don't need that speed. So we get to Jeweled Lotus. Jeweled Lotus sets the internet on fire, because they've made basically a functional commander only version of Black Lotus. It's an amazing card. I believe
the art is amazing.
Art's beautiful.
Yeah.
I personally believe it's going to be a card that keeps and holds its value. And there's so many cards in the set. Like, we're going to be going over spoilers probably next week, just right before release date, because there's another week of spoilers. And man, is it going to be a good episode. It might be a two-parter that we just do a double release of, because there's a lot of cards in it. It's a huge set.
Yeah, I think like every single day there's been new cards. Like, even like after we recorded our first podcast or our episode today, like Zach's already been
there's already new spoilers today of like cool ones, and it's Saturday morning, right?
Yeah.
So looking at Jeweled Lotus, minus the overall, like, yes, you can get things out fast. The more colors you have in your deck, the worse this card is. Let's get that out of the way.
Because you can only choose one.
Yeah, this isn't going to super accelerate like your Thrasios, Tymna, competitive style decks. And that's what everyone generally looks at most of these things from the lens of competitive. This is CEDH. It's pushing everything's power level up. I look at it as the opposite. I like to play a bunch of very not good commanders. I really, really like mono white decks. I talk about it all the time and stuff, right? in a lot of mono white decks. And a really good example is Commander Isha. Commander Isha is an aura-based enchantment Voltron commander in my deck. Commander Isha is 4 mana, which means as soon as I have 4 mana, even if I'm 1 mana a turn, that means my 4th turn is Commander Isha. And it's not like an equipment deck where I'm trying to get other things out. I need to put the auras onto Isha.
Yeah, you need to have a target.
So for me, it's a very, very slow start, and Commander Isha has protection from creatures. It's very quick to see that you don't want this thing to get big. So not only is it a huge removal target, it's very slow to get off the ground. A really good start in that deck is maybe getting a Soul Ring and getting it out.
Land tax or...
Getting it out turn 2 or something, right?
Yeah.
This is what the Jeweled Lotus is like really for. It's not going to be for like super busted plays and stuff like, oh yeah, you can get Urza out on turn 1. That's not the kind of players most people are going to be seen playing anyways, right? Most of these things are going to be people who have cracked the packs, had a little bit of fun, and they're going to put them into like monocolored decks, 2-color decks. That's where I think this card really, really shines, is in 2-color decks, as opposed to, like I said, it's not so good in 3, it's not so good in 4-color. Like Muldrotha doesn't want this, and Muldrotha wants everything you can recur, right? But like I can get one of my 3 colors with Muldrotha, so I can maybe get it out turn.
But you could see with Muldrotha playing that first and then being able to crack it and get Land of War birds and another like white or another mana dork out. Like
you can only
use it for your commander.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So never mind. Yeah. See.
If you could crack it for that, then it would be so awesome, right? But the fact is that you can only use it on your commander. So in a normal like Doran the Siege Tower, another deck that for me it gets going kind of quick, but he's still multicolored. You need one of each, right? This isn't a great opening hand for Doran, because then I can maybe, what am I going to do? Crack a Jeweled Lotus for 1 white mana? At that point, why wouldn't I just use the Lotus Petal, right?
Yeah.
So it is going to shine more in monocolor decks, especially in colors that are slow. And I think you're going to see a lot of play in Orzhov decks, just the kind of decks that you don't really have that ramp to get those things out. Like I play Kraven Regna. Regna is like 6 mana.
Yeah, or actually Aura. That, like if I could have 1 black or white out and get him out fast. Yeah, because that's just like
it, right?
A turn 2 drop.
It's very easy to look at every card on its face and think like, oh, this is broken. This is going to be so strong. But the best way to look at it, I think, is to think about your playgroup. Like, do you think your friends are just suddenly bad people because there's a new card? Like, are they going to suddenly be like, I'm going to wreck the game for everyone. I'm going to try build the most unfun. Like, no, your friends aren't trying to build the most unfun fast deck. There's not like a card that's printed that's just going to flip a switch on your playgroup and just ruin the whole dynamic of it, right? Like, okay, someone, if they have an opening hand with Krenko, it might be really good to get a turn 1 Krenko. But you know, like this is something I said in the Discord and stuff. EDH is a self-regulating game. I very, very often outrace the table with how much mana I produce. I love to play green. There's a lot of decks, Brian's seen my Selvala deck where I have like a turn 2 Selvala out, a turn 3 mana reflection. I generate insane mana. And then I get just gangbanged by the table. The whole table is against me until I'm back in line. That's how Magic works, right?
Yeah.
In a one-on-one, sure, I can see that. But the player who is the most ahead is the enemy of the table, right? And even a lot of good decks, they can't really beat 3 decks that are trying to stop them. And everyone keeps talking, oh, well, it just accelerates you too much. You get too much of an advantage having your commander out.
Depending upon the commander.
Well, like my really good example is Xeris. Me and Brian both have Xeris. It's a very, very fun commander, but it also is a removal target, right? If I don't have a great hand, but let's say that I draw Plains, a Mountain, and my Jeweled Lotus. So I'm pretty good. I don't have my green mana to get my deck going, but I know I can cast Xeris. I know reliably when I swing in, I can get my draw damage off, right? That's a greedy keep. I don't have all my colors I need. I don't have a lot of the ramp, but I know that if things go well, I'm pretty good. I drop Xeris turn 2, and I know that I'll be able to swing at someone with flying. It's got good evasion. Turn 3, I'll be able to draw 3 cards. Maybe I hit some of what I need.
And turn 3, if there's no other, say, liable targets out, there's lots of removal. That's 3 mana.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So if I bust Xeris out and I get Path to Exiled, then I'm stuck on no mana of my ramp color and a 7-cost commander in a deck that relies on it, right? There's a lot of big ability to have a downside when you're playing that way.
Yeah.
Like that's just the end of
That's
it.
kind of a lot of the reason why, like, I look at Jeweled Lotus as like just another ritual. Really, is all it
Yeah.
is, because it's that sudden burst of sustainability. If it was a zero drop, that we didn't have to sacrifice, then it would be insane. Like, I'm not downplaying the fact that it's a good card. I don't think it's overpowered. I just think it's higher power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, only like you guys have said, only certain decks are going to be able to really take advantage of this. And yes, it's an artifact which is easily abusable, but really, like, you can only use this mana to recast your commander. I don't really know off the top of my head how many commander decks are going to like really want to, especially in mono color, because that's like we've said,
blue,
like
that blue legendary creature that does everything with artifacts.
Emery?
Yeah, Emery. That's the one deck that I could see it being like, woo-hoo.
No, but it's the same thing. If you don't kill Emery, I can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, and like,
go ahead, Zach.
That's the thing. Like, what real value? And I'm very curious. Like, what do you really benefit from recasting your commander multiple times if you're able to somehow loop this artifact? Because eventually we're going to get to the point
you're
where
getting into a really weird Prosh loop, and you're going against Food Chain and trying to cast Prosh infinite times. Well, guess what? That's still also a competitive thing that your normal friends aren't doing. Right? Like,
and it's only of one color. That's the thing that, like,
Yeah.
I can't stress enough. If it was of any color of your commander's identity, I could totally understand, like, the pitchforks and the fire and all that stuff. I could totally get it. But
like,
it's
if
not.
we were playing a game and Zach played a turn 1 Lotus Petal and then Dark Ritual, pardon me, if he played turn 1 Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, I wouldn't be upset at that. I'd be like, oh, cool play. I wouldn't be like, this is unfair. You're accelerating too fast for the table. No, I'd just be like, oh, cool, man. Like, you got your card out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
like,
it's a fun
there
game.
are decks that are definitely going to want to use this. Like, my Grenzo deck, like, it's my more higher powered deck. It's closest to CEDH that I have. Like, yeah, I could see this card being useful to be like, okay, if I have my black and my red source, I can suddenly, use this as my 3 in the X so that he's coming out bigger, allowing my game plan to go faster. But ultimately, like, the longer the game goes, I see this card becoming more, like, becoming worse. Like, this is literally just to, like, I need to get my commander out instantly. I need my commander out as soon as possible.
My big thoughts on it are that people are overestimating the ceiling and underestimating the floor on this card. This card sucks to draw late game. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you have your commander out and if you're in the dominant board state, you've got your commander out and you're ready to go, and then you just draw this, your late game thing, like, this is a dead draw at a long point. There's a lot of commanders. One of the spoiler, today I'm playing Perforos as a commander. It's an indestructible enchantment. The likelihood of it being removed off the board is pretty close to 0 in most, there's not many exile enchantment stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's not going away. That card's not good in that deck. What am I going to do? Get Perforos out early and hope it's in my opening hand? Like, if a card is only good in your opening hand, it's not that good.
No.
Right? Mana Crypt late in the game is good. You can always get the extra mana.
Well, and that goes for anything that you want to cast, though, not just your commander.
Yeah.
Like, I see Jeweled Lotus, like, yes, being good at, just like any card for the game, like, is going to be good in certain scenarios and good in certain decks. Like, Joyra is going to love this card. It's an egg. Ishar, gonna love this deck. It's an egg. Or love this card because it's an egg. But those are very, like, specific play patterns. Like, yes, any deck that cares about casting historic spells or 0 cost spells, this card is good because it's a free spell. But outside of that,
the other thing too is that, like, this is gonna the more expensive land base you have, like I said, the better a deck can function, right? So 5 color decks already have a ton of love. Like, if you've invested into it, it's fine. But for newer players, it doesn't always feel good to not have the fast mana, not have access to these fancy new toys. And the whole point of this set is to just be cracking new things, trying new things, and getting into it. And if you're a new player, you're cracking this fast mana, you're not going to be an expert deck builder. Like, none of us are really expert deck builders, right? We all play silly things. We've got, like, all of us have good decks, but they're all in their own
We all
way
have weird
silly.
pet cards.
Yeah, we all have ways that we play. Like, we could all build better if we do. None of us do that, right? Like I said, the fabric of your play group isn't going to unravel if somebody gets their commander out 2 or 3 turns early.
I have to say, like, even just like after, because like when I first saw it and you called me and everything,
Oh
it was
yeah,
just like,
I was on the phone when this first got spoiled.
just like, wow, yes, that's such a great card. But now after just kind of talking about it, it's lackluster.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'll be very excited to play it, but the decks that I'm going to put it in, outside of a competitive deck, are nonsense. They're gonna just be like, they'll be like, why'd you use this to play Ronus? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's my thing, is like the thing I'm most excited for about this card isn't the fact that it's going to make my Toon decks better, which to a degree it can. It's going to be all the decks that I like just need a little bit of extra help. Like it's going to go in there, you know, like decks that are like not viable because the commander cost is too high. Well, suddenly if I'm drawing this card, okay, now like it doesn't feel as bad to play like a 6 CMC commander if I have a 0-drop gain 3. You know?
Well, one of the arguments I saw on one of the posts was, well, what if somebody's playing Elish Norn as a commander and they just accelerate this out?
That person's a degenerate.
Yeah, and they're just like, all it's going to do is make the table upset. I was like, if anyone's playing Elish Norn as a commander, is going to make the table upset. What kind of animals do you play with?
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, though. Of like, yes, the Praetors are strong, but like, it takes so much work to get a lot of those onto the battlefield to even do it. Like, if you've been a big like proponent of Elish Norn and you've always wanted to play it, but it's so slow, like I hope you crack this card and I hope you put it in the deck so you can play the deck.
If your mono white 7 mana commander gets to come out a little bit earlier that your playgroup already hates you for, then whatever, who cares?
Get Genji Taxius out on turn 5.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing, and like without
really
knowing the like design philosophy behind the card, I'm more inclined to believe that's what it is. Like, no one should be like ever like not thought of when the conversation for new cards being designed. Like, is this card for CEDH? Maybe. Is it for EDH in general? Yes, because CEDH is EDH. It's as simple as that. There's no distinguishing outside of us determining.
I definitely disagree. It's a totally different mindset and play style. A lot of people don't like to differentiate. The best way to look at is CDH, EDH, is if I play my CEDH deck against you, will you be happy? And the answer is no, unless you're also playing it.
But that's the thing. Like, I think we as players in this format have designated these things to make it easier to when we sit down and have our conversation about what decks we're playing. If you say, well, I'm playing an 8, well, I'm playing a 10, what does a 10 mean? Oh, CEDH viable. Like, it's still like, I think a lot of people get hung up. Like, yes, it's a different mindset of brewing, but like rule 0, we're supposed to have this conversation and talk about the kind of play experience we're expecting to have as players.
Well, that's like, the best way to look at it right there is what you said, rule 0. This isn't going to break it. You should still be having the same conversations and stuff. I think this is just going to enable a bunch of commanders that like are not as easy to play and stuff, right? Okay, I might be able to play Golos early. So?
Yeah.
So what? Yeah, like it's Golos. I'm going to ramp Golos out, right? Like that's just the best way to look at it, is that there is going to be no breaking of the game for it, because you're still going to be playing with your friends. Everyone's so enraged about it, and they're furious at the rules committee for not banning this and not banning that. These are your friends you're playing with. Like, you should, if you're not having fun playing the game, don't play with those people. It's the only way like I can say it. Like, I don't understand that mentality. I just wouldn't play with people if I wasn't having fun.
Like we talked about on the Discord, right? Like, you guys know, every time I sit down, I've said the same thing since we started. I always ask the same 2 questions, right? What are your pronouns and what power level are we playing? Just so I know, because that's the whole point of Commander, is like, if I win, cool, awesome, my deck did its thing. But if we sit down and I'm getting stomped, but I'm having a good time and like I'm talking to people and we're having fun, like even when I get beat, even when I get hosed by stupid Teferi's protection, we're still laughing about it. We're still having a good time. Like, and that's the whole thing. Like, yes, you can play competitively and still have fun. The whole point is to have the conversation. If you are not having the conversation at the beginning of the game, you have completely missed out on what EDH is, and you should feel bad about it.
Even speaking to Teferi's protection, a lot of people do get tilted at it. I built a deck recently that one of my combos revolves around Teferi's protection, and I went to Teferi's Protection myself because it was in hand to protect myself. I had like a bunch of... I was really, really set up. I had Phyrexian Unlife, Solemnity. I wasn't dying to anything. But my little brother, we were playing, and he was playing Karlov. He ended up life draining me. So my life ended up hitting 0. I Teferi's Protection. And so life was at 0. I didn't die from it. Teferi's Protection resolved, and all my permanents moved, and I died to state-based action with Teferi's Protection. I killed myself with it. It was a very interesting play, and that's just it, right? The card's not going to break. It's not going to ruin your play group. Talk with people. That's the takeaway from it. Yes, it's strong. Incidentally, it's not going to wreck the game for you. You shouldn't be furious if if somebody plays this and you pick up, like, you're looking at the game the wrong way.
Yep.
Right? Like, play the game. People win and lose. So everyone's acting like it's the companion mechanic on top of this. Like, they're going to see it turn 1 every game. It's outside of it for some reason. It has an extra card. Like, that's not the point of this.
No.
How many companion decks do we see now, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
I have never seen anyone use the companion mechanic. You've seen one?
I run one.
Oh.
My Golos is the red-green elk.
Jangatha?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's...
How many times have I
thing.
played it?
Yeah.
Zip.
I never see it. Like, I just don't see companion stuff. Like, I use the companion cards. I have Lutri in a deck. Fight me.
just be responsible, guys. Like, the whole point is it's our community. No group should be mad at another about a card that's been printed. Like, just talk about it.
Yeah, just play,
like,
have fun.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm playing a really janky deck. It's probably a 3. It's barely even functioning. Okay, do you guys have something that is close to that? Okay, well, what does a 3 mean? Like, just have these conversations. There's no reason in this day and age that we can't talk about cards and figure out, like, do our decks match to a certain degree? Are we going to be able to sit down, have fun, and play, or have the same kind of game experience everyone is thinking about having?
Oh, I flat out agree. And the other thing I was going to say is that, like, I do have a really simple solution for Jeweled Amulet. Or Jeweled Lotus. Sorry, not Jeweled Amulet. Very different cards. If you're not happy with the Jeweled Lotuses in your play group and stuff, easy solution, mail me them. I'll take them all for you. I will bear this burden. My play group will be just fine with it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Brian, where can they find our stuff?
So you can find us at intothe99.com for all of our content in one easy place. Check us out on YouTube, YouTube/Into the99, as well as you can check us out on Patreon, where we have a few different tiers with some interesting benefits.
Thank you so much, guys.
See ya.
Bye.